Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my wife ever did was stand up in a crowded rooftop restaurant in Baltimore, smile like she was giving a toast, and call me a burden who eats for free right in front of her friends and family. She didn't stumble over the words. She didn't soften them. She aimed them at me, then laughed like it was an honest comedy. When the table went quiet, she doubled down and added that I was classless. Like my job and my presence were stained, she was finally brave enough to point out. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I took my ring off, set it on the table, and walked out. Here's how it happened. It didn't start on that rooftop. It started months earlier with little comments that landed like pebbles and ended up building a wall. My wife, Arielle Mercer, was charming in public, bright smile, big energy, love and light language, but in private she treated respect like something I had to earn daily. I'm an auto mechanic. I've spent years fixing engines, diagnosing what others miss, staying steady when things get complicated. That's how I handled her too, observing, staying calm, taking notes in my head. I kept thinking it would pass. It didn't. When we first met in D.C., Arielle didn't act like my life was small. It was a Saturday pop-up market, and she had a neat little booth, candles, oils, gift boxes tied with ribbon. I teased her that she was selling confidence in jars, and she laughed so hard her shoulders shook. She asked what I did, and when I told her, she said, "So, you know how to make broken things run again?" Like it was a compliment. I liked that she listened. I liked that she didn't pretend she was too good to be impressed by work that takes real skill. Our early dates were simple and funny in a way that felt rare. She'd come by my shop with a paper bag of breakfast sandwiches, acting like she was checking on me, but really she liked watching me work. She'd sit on an old rolling stool, legs crossed, telling me about customers who tried to bargain with her, like her time was negotiable. I'd shake my head and say, "People will try anything." She'd grin and say, "Not with me." Then she'd look at me like I was included in that strength. I was. We didn't rush into marriage, but when we did, it felt like a plan, not a performance. She talked about building together. I talked about stability, long-term ownership, not just vibes. Arielle liked the idea of a husband who didn't crumble under pressure. I liked the idea of a wife who had ambition. She'd sit next to me on the couch and draw imaginary timelines in the air. "This year, I will scale," she'd say. "Next year, we will buy something bigger." And I'd answer, "We do it clean. No mess." She'd laugh and kiss my cheek and say, "You're so serious." The first time I saw the disrespect was small enough to ignore, if you wanted to ignore it. We were at a cookout in Prince George's County, one of those backyard setups with the grill smoking, music loud, kids running around. Her cousin Devin looked at my shirt, my shop shirt clean, pressed, and said, "So you change oil for a living? That's cute." A few people laughed. I waited for Arielle to check him. She didn't. She smiled like she didn't want to make it a thing. Later in the car, I said, "You heard that." She sighed, eyes forward. "It's a joke, babe." Jokes became her favorite cover. Another time, at brunch in Arlington, her friend Kiana was talking about her boyfriend's promotion like it was a trophy, and she asked me, "So what's the big dream?" "Manager of the oil aisle." It was a weak joke, but everyone laughed anyway because that's what groups do. Follow the loudest person. Arielle laughed too. Not politely. Loud. Then she patted my arm like I was a kid. "He's humble," she said. "He's not trying to be out here with big titles." It wasn't what she said. It was how she placed me beneath. When we got home, I didn't start a fight. I sat on the edge of the couch and said calmly, "Don't laugh when people talk down on me." Arielle blinked like I'd said something dramatic. "I wasn't laughing at you," she said. "You take everything personal." I held her eyes. "I'm not taking it personally. It is personal. It's me." She rolled her eyes. "Okay, Mr. Sensitive." Then she turned on the TV like the conversation was over. That was my first clear lesson. She liked closure that only benefited her. After that, the phone checking started. It didn't come with a conversation. It came with entitlement. I'd set my phone on the counter while I washed dishes, and she'd pick it up and scroll like she was checking the weather. One night she stopped on a name and said, "Who is Jasmine?" Her tone wasn't curious. It was accusatory. "Customer," I said. Her car's been in the bay all week. I ordered a part. Arielle's eyes narrowed. Mechanics always have women calling, she said. I dried my hands slowly. If you don't trust me, say that. She tossed it back. I trust you. I just don't trust women. I started locking my phone, not because I was hiding anything, but because the principle mattered. Arielle noticed and took it as proof of guilt. So now you're secretive, she said one morning while we brushed our teeth. Toothpaste foam, hard stare. I met her eyes in the mirror. I'm private, I said. You don't get to police me because you're anxious. She leaned on the sink, voice sharp. Don't talk to me like that. Then she walked out and slammed the door like a teenager. Later she acted normal, made coffee, and hummed. No apology. Just reset, like her blow-ups were weather. Around that time, my job became her favorite target in arguments. If we argued about anything, her spending, her friends, her tone, she would suddenly bring up money like it was the final weapon. I'm the one with the real potential, she'd say. I'm the one building a brand. You're just changing tires. The first few times it hit me in the chest, but I didn't let it show. I kept my voice low. Don't minimize what I do. I told her. You like stability when it pays the bills. Arielle laughed without humor. Bills aren't the same as lifestyle. I didn't marry Arielle because I wanted applause. I married her because I thought we respected each other. I knew how to handle criticism. In my shop, customers would come in angry, convinced they'd been scammed by somebody else, and I'd calm them down with facts. That's how I treated Arielle. Facts. Calm. Clear boundaries. But facts don't work on someone who wants control more than truth. She'd twist my words into an insult, then punish me for having an attitude. If I stayed quiet, she'd call me cold. If I spoke, she'd call me defensive. It felt like the rules changed depending on what she needed. Still, there were good moments that confused me. Arielle could be sweet when she wanted to be. She'd text me midday, I miss you, and attach a selfie with that same bright smile that got strangers to open their wallets. She'd bring me lunch at the shop and sit with me at my cluttered desk, pushing aside invoices like they were cute. She'd tell my employees, he's the best mechanic in this city, and they'd nod. I watch her say it and wonder if she meant it or if she just liked the way it sounded. The sweetness felt real. That's what kept me there. Then she'd switch. We'd be in the car and she'd casually say, I hate when you smell like the shop. I'd say, it's my job. She'd say, I know, but it's embarrassing sometimes. Embarrassing. Like I was a stain she couldn't fully scrub off her image. One evening, we went to a small networking event in D.C. She picked my outfit, down to the shoes, and before we walked in she adjusted my collar and said, just don't talk too much. Let me handle it. She smiled like it was advice, not disrespect. I didn't argue. I just noted it. The family and friends part wasn't accidental. Arielle didn't disrespect me alone. She used an audience. At a family dinner at her mom's place in Silver Spring, her mother, Dr. Arielle Mercer, asked me what my 5-year plan was, but it wasn't curiosity, it was interrogation. When I said I wanted to expand the shop and buy the building one day, she gave a slow smile. That's nice, she said, like I told her I planned to collect coins. Arielle's sister, Monique, smirked and said, as long as Arielle doesn't end up funding it. Arielle laughed. I didn't. On the drive home, I said, your family doesn't respect me. You can hear it. Arielle sighed like she was tired of me. My family is protective, she said. They're used to a certain standard. I kept my eyes on the road. And what standard is that? Arielle shrugged. Success. Ambition. I nodded once. You think I don't have that? She looked at her nails. You have effort. That was the moment I felt something shift. Effort. Not ambition. Not skill. Effort. Like I was trying to be a man, not already one. I started seeing patterns. Arielle praised me in public when it benefited her image. My husband works so hard, she'd tell people. He keeps me grounded. Then in private, she treated my hard work like a basic requirement she didn't need to appreciate. She'd come home with bags, place them on the counter, and say, we need to upgrade our life. Then she'd glance at me and add, no offense. Like offense only counted if she intended it. I'd ask, how much did you spend? She'd say, why are you counting? Are you broke? It wasn't a question. It was an accusation disguised as humor. The worst arguments weren't loud. They were surgical. Arielle had a way of saying things that couldn't be taken back. One night, after I asked her to stop inviting her friends to comment on our marriage, she leaned against the kitchen island and said, "You're lucky I picked you. Most women wouldn't." I looked at her steady. "Don't talk to me like I'm a charity case." Arielle's smile thinned. "I'm not saying you're a charity case," she said. "I'm saying you're not exactly premium. Premium, like men, come with price tags. Like love is a subscription." I didn't raise my voice. I just stopped reaching for her hand after that. My shop was doing well. Not flashy, but strong. I had steady fleet contracts, repeat customers, and a reputation for not cutting corners. The money was consistent. The books were clean. Arielle liked that part. She liked that the mortgage got paid on time. She liked that her car was always maintained. She liked that I handled problems. But she wanted more than stability. She wanted spectacle. She wanted to walk into rooms and have people assume she married up. And because she couldn't get that from my job title, she tried to change my posture instead. She tried to shrink me until I fit her narrative. When Arielle's business needed cash, she didn't ask like a partner. She asked like someone collecting what she was owed. One night, she laid out her laptop on the dining table, showing me a plan for a larger studio space. "I found the perfect location," she said, eyes bright. "I need help with the deposit and first 3 months." I asked how much. She told me the number like it was normal. I stared at it. "That's a lot," I said. Arielle's expression tightened. "So you don't believe in me?" I said calm, "That's not what I said." She snapped, "If you loved me, you'd invest." I invested because at that time, I still believed we were building together. I didn't empty our accounts. I didn't do something reckless. I did it the careful way, structured, documented, clean. I also set boundaries. "We do this with agreements," I said. Arielle laughed. "Agreements? Between husband and wife?" I replied, "Especially between husband and wife." She called me paranoid. She called me cold. But she signed. At the time, I thought that was maturity. Later, I realized it was the only reason she couldn't lie about what happened when everything fell apart. As her circle grew, her respect shrank. She'd come home from events smelling like perfume and confidence, talking about people I'd never met like they mattered more than our marriage. "My mentor said I need to stop playing small," she'd say. Then she'd glance at my hands, grease under my nails no matter how much I scrubbed, and add, "No offense." One night she asked me, "Do you ever feel embarrassed?" I said, "About what?" She smiled like she was being gentle. "About being just a mechanic." I stared at her. "Do you feel embarrassed living in a house where my just a mechanic money keeps steady?" She didn't answer. She just walked away. The public criticism got bolder. At a friend's birthday dinner in D.C., Arielle told a story about me fixing a stranger's flat tire in the rain, but she framed it like I was naive. "He's the kind of man who'll work for free," she said, laughing. "He doesn't know how to value himself." Her friends laughed. I sipped my water. After dinner, in the parking lot, I said, "You don't have to turn me into a joke." Arielle rolled her eyes. "Why are you so serious?" "People like funny men." I answered, "They like funny men who aren't being laughed at." She shrugged. "Same thing." That's when I stopped trying to explain. There was a specific kind of disrespect that grows when someone realizes you won't explode. Arielle liked to poke, then watch my restraint like it proved she could do it again. She'd say things like, "I could do better," then watch to see if I begged. When I didn't, she'd act offended that I didn't chase. "So you don't care?" she'd ask. I'd respond, "I care. I'm just not performing." That word, performing, made her mad, because she was always performing. In her mind, love was what you did in front of people. I was learning that love is what you protect in private. The threats became more direct. One night she said, "If you keep acting like this, I'll replace you." I looked up from the sink, water running, and said quietly, "That's not how marriage works." Arielle laughed like I was cute. "Marriage works how I say it works," she replied. I turned off the faucet, dried my hands, and looked at her. "No," I said. "It works how respect works." She stared back, then smiled like she'd won something. "You're not going anywhere," she said. "You need me." I didn't answer. I just filed that sentence away, because it told me exactly how she saw me. Around that time, I started noticing how she spoke about money. It wasn't ours. It was mine when she wanted power and ours when she wanted access. If she made a sale, she'd say, "I'm really that girl." If I brought home a strong month from the shop, she'd say, "Good, because we have plans." One afternoon, she asked me to pay for a last-minute trip to Miami for networking. When I said it didn't make sense financially, she scoffed. "You don't understand growth," she said. I replied, "I understand debt." Arielle's voice sharpened. "You think like a poor man." That sentence sat heavy in the room. Funny enough, I still tried. Not with begging, just with partnership. I suggested counseling. Arielle laughed. "Counseling is for people who can't handle real life," she said. I suggested boundaries. No phone checking, no public jokes at my expense, no threats. Arielle responded, "So you want to control what I say?" I said, "I want you to control what you say." She folded her arms. "I'm not going to be silenced," she said. And that was the game. She treated basic respect like oppression. She treated my dignity like an inconvenience. Then she would kiss me later like nothing happened and expect me to reset. My calm started to scare her, I think, because I wasn't reacting the way her friends' boyfriends reacted. I wasn't yelling in parking lots. I wasn't posting quotes online. I wasn't storming out dramatically. I just got quieter. I got more precise. I spent more time at the shop. I started keeping my own records separate. I didn't hide it. I just did it. One night she asked, "Why are you always on your laptop?" I said, "Work." She smirked. "Your little mechanic work?" I didn't even look up. "Yes," I said. That lack of reaction made her angry. She wanted me to be emotional. I was learning to stay strategic. The rooftop dinner, the one where everything broke, was supposed to be a celebration for Arielle's new rebrand. She called it a soft launch. She invited her mom, her sister, her cousins, her friends, and a couple of people she called investors, though most of them were just people who liked being seen. Arielle told me to wear a blazer. I did. I came straight from the shop after making sure everything was locked up. I was clean, but I still smelled like a long day. When I walked up, Arielle gave me a quick smile, the kind meant for cameras, and whispered, "Stand tall." The first few minutes were fine. I greeted people. I listened. I kept my voice low. I didn't try to dominate the conversation. Arielle's friend Kiana made another little joke about grease under nails, and I ignored it. Arielle's cousin Devin asked me if I ever got tired of working with my hands, and I said, calmly, "No, I'm good at it." Arielle's mom watched me like she was grading me. Arielle kept laughing at jokes that weren't funny. I noticed she didn't sit beside me. She sat across the table, closer to her friends. Like distance was part of the image. Then Arielle stood up for a toast. She tapped her glass, and everybody quieted down because they like moments. She smiled and started talking about her journey, her hustle, her vision. People nodded like she was preaching. Then she said, "I had to learn to stop carrying people." A few people laughed. Arielle's eyes flicked to me, and she said, "Sometimes you love someone and you want to believe they're on your level, but they're not." The table shifted. Someone cleared their throat. Arielle smiled wider. "Some men are confident because they're classy," she said, "and some are confident because they don't know they're classless." Silence landed like a weight. Arielle saw it, and instead of stopping, she pushed. "I'm not marrying a burden who eats for free," she said, like she was reading a line she practiced. Then she laughed, quick, light, and added, "No offense, babe. I'm just being honest." I looked at her. I looked at the faces around the table. Her mom's smug little smile. Kiana's wide eyes. Devin's grin. They weren't shocked she said it. They were shocked she said it in public. That's what bothered them. The etiquette, not the cruelty. Arielle leaned forward and whispered, "Smile," like I was about to ruin her night. I didn't smile. I didn't frown either. I just got very still. In that stillness, I felt something settle. I didn't have to convince anyone at that table of my worth. I slid my chair back. The legs scraped softly. I removed my wedding band slowly, like taking off a watch. I set it on the table beside Arielle's phone. A little metal sound. Arielle's smile froze. She hissed, "What are you doing?" I leaned in and said quietly, "You said it out loud." "I'm responding out loud." Then I walked out. I didn't rush. I didn't slam doors. I didn't make a scene. I walked through the restaurant, down the elevator, into the cold Baltimore night. The air hit my face, and it felt clean. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Arielle's name. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Text. Are you serious? Another. Come back now. Then, you're embarrassing me. I stared at that last one and almost laughed. She just embarrassed me in front of everyone, and her main concern was how my exit looked on her. That's when I turned my phone on silent and drove home. I slept in the guest room, not out of spite, out of clarity. In the morning, Arielle came in like a storm, wearing silk pajamas and anger. You really left me up there, she said. I sat up calm. Yes, I replied. She scoffed. Over a joke? I looked at her. It wasn't a joke, I said. You meant it. Arielle crossed her arms. So what? You're punishing me? I shook my head. I'm protecting myself, I said. Arielle's eyes narrowed. You're acting like you're the prize. I answered. I'm acting like I'm a person. She rolled her eyes and walked out. That day, I did something I should have done earlier. I pulled up every document connected to our finances and read them like a mechanic reads a diagnostic report, carefully, line by line. I didn't do it in anger. I did it like maintenance, because what Arielle wanted was control. What I needed was structure. Our joint accounts showed patterns I hadn't paid attention to, subscriptions, transfers, expenses that weren't discussed. Not illegal, but disrespectful. The money I invested into her studio was listed as a gift in her notes. Gift. Like my support was charity, not partnership. I saved screenshots. I printed statements. Quietly. Arielle acted like nothing happened for 2 days, then shifted into charm. She cooked dinner, played music, and tried to sit close. Babe, she said softly. You know I didn't mean it like that. I didn't take the bait. How did you mean it? I asked. Arielle's smile tightened. You know I've been stressed, she said. My mom and them, they judge everything. I nodded. And you chose to join them, I said. Arielle's eyes flashed. Don't do that, she snapped. Don't twist it. I replied calmly. I'm not twisting anything. I'm repeating your words. She pushed her plate away like I ruined her appetite. When charm didn't work, she tried intimidation. You need me, she said one night, leaning on the doorway like she owned the space. You're not going to find another woman like me. I looked up from my laptop. I'm not looking, I said. That made her pause. So what, you gonna leave? She asked. I didn't answer directly. I asked, do you think you can disrespect me and still have access to me? Arielle laughed, sharp. You sound like a podcast, she said. I smiled slightly. No, I replied. I sound like a man who's done being used. She walked away furious. The next week, I met with a lawyer in Towson. I didn't tell Arielle, not because I wanted drama, because I wanted clean steps. I brought my documents. I explained everything. The public humiliation, the financial entanglements, the signed agreement for the studio funds. The lawyer listened and said, You're in a good position because you've kept things separate. That sentence mattered, because my shop was mine. The LLC existed before Arielle. The contracts were my name. My equipment was owned outright. The house, we bought it together, but the down payment came from my savings and the paperwork showed it. I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was trying to stop bleeding. When I came home, Arielle was on the couch scrolling like she didn't have a care in the world. Where were you? She asked without looking up. Work stuff, I said. She smirked. Your little mechanic meetings? I nodded. Yes, I replied. Arielle looked up then, eyes sharp. You're acting differently, she said. You think you're better than me now? I held her gaze. I think I'm better than being insulted in public, I said. Arielle's face tightened. You're still mad about that? She asked. I'm not mad, I said. I'm awake. That word hit her. Awake. She stared at me like she wanted to slap it out of my mouth. The next disrespect came right on time. Arielle invited her friends over without asking. They showed up with wine and opinions, sitting in my living room like they were judges. Kiana laughed and said, So y'all good now? You stopped being sensitive. Arielle laughed with her, like my pain was a tantrum that needed correction. I stood in the kitchen, calm, and poured myself water. Devin said, Man, you almost messed up her whole event. You got to learn how to play your position. I looked at him. My position is husband, I said. Not a punching bag. Arielle rolled her eyes. Here we go, she muttered. I didn't argue. I simply walked out of my own living room and went upstairs. Arielle followed me later. You embarrassed me again, she snapped. I sat on the edge of the bed. I didn't speak loudly, I said. I didn't insult anyone. Arielle threw her hands up. Your energy is embarrassing, she said. You act like you're above everybody. I nodded slowly. No, I replied. I act like I won't be disrespected. Arielle's eyes narrowed. So what, you're threatening me? She asked. I shook my head. I'm informing you, I said. This is the last season of my life where people get comfortable humiliating me. Arielle stared like she couldn't believe I was serious. Then she laughed. You're not going anywhere, she said. You won't survive without me. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The next morning, I separated our finances. Not dramatically, just clean. I opened a new account for my shop operations and transferred business funds. I removed Arielle as an authorized user from the card tied to my credit line. I canceled the automatic transfers paying her studio rent that came from my account as part of that support she took for granted. I didn't touch her personal funds. I didn't empty joint accounts. I simply stopped funding disrespect. There's a difference. That afternoon, Arielle called me from her studio, voice sharp. Why did my card decline? She demanded. I said calmly, because I removed access. She went quiet, then hissed. You're trying to control me. I replied, no, I'm controlling myself. Arielle drove home fast and came through the door like fire. You can't do that, she yelled. I stood in the kitchen calm. I can, I said, and I did. Arielle's face twisted. You're punishing me because you're insecure, she snapped. I shook my head. I'm responding to a pattern, I said. Arielle stepped closer. You're a burden, she said again, quieter this time, like she wanted to wound me where nobody could see. You eat for free in my life. That was the moment I realized she didn't regret the rooftop. She regretted the consequences. I stared at her and said, you don't get to say that and still call this marriage. Arielle laughed bitterly. Then leave, she said. I nodded once. Okay, I replied. That, okay, startled her more than any yelling would have. Wait, what? She said. I walked past her, went upstairs, and pulled a suitcase out of the closet. Not in a rush. Not dramatic. Arielle followed me, suddenly changing tones. Babe, don't be stupid, she said, voice softer. We could talk. I folded my shirts neatly. We've been talking, I said. You've been talking. I've been listening. Arielle's eyes watered. You're really throwing us away? She asked. I looked at her steady. You threw it away in front of her room, I replied. I'm just not picking it back up off the floor. She reached for my arm. I stepped back, not aggressively, just firmly. Don't, I said. She froze. I moved into a small furnished place near my shop for a while. Quiet, clean, no tension. The first night there, I sat on the edge of the bed and realized I could breathe. No walking on eggshells. No waiting for the next comment. My phone buzzed nonstop. Arielle, her mom, her sister, her friends. I didn't respond to most of them. I responded once to Arielle with a short message. Communicate through counsel. That was it. No insults. No paragraphs. Arielle hated that. Because she wanted to fight, she could narrate to her circle. Silence is hard to spin when the facts don't favor you. The next 2 weeks, Arielle tried every tactic. She sent sweet messages. I miss you. We can fix this. Then angry ones. You're broke without me. You're jealous. Then guilt. My mom says you're destroying my future. Then seduction. Pictures, memories, inside jokes. I didn't respond. Not because I was heartless, because I was protecting my clarity. I focused on work. I showed up early, checked inventory, talked to my guys, and tightened operations. Customers don't care about your heartbreak. Engines don't care either. They still need diagnosing. That routine helped me stay steady while everything else shook. Arielle's studio started unraveling fast. Not because I sabotaged her, because her business model relied on me covering gaps she pretended didn't exist. Rent came due. The automatic payments weren't there. Her investors weren't investors. They were clout friends. Her mother wasn't about to fund a lifestyle she couldn't control. Arielle called me one night, voice trembling. Why would you do this to me? She asked, like I'd stolen something. I said calmly, I didn't do anything to you. I stopped doing things for you. She cried, then got sharp. You want me to beg? she demanded. I answered, I want you to understand. Arielle snapped. Understand what? I said, that respect isn't optional. A few days later, Arielle showed up at my shop. That was new. She walked in wearing a polished outfit and pain behind her eyes, trying to look like she was still in control. My guys glanced at me. I nodded once, and they gave us space. Arielle stood near my office doorway, lips pressed tight. So this is it, she said. You're really going to leave me out here to drown? I leaned back in my chair. You said I was a burden, I replied. You said I ate for free. Arielle's voice cracked. I was angry, she said. I nodded. And I was listening. I answered. She stepped closer. I can change, she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment and said, You can, just not with access to me while you practice. She tried to pivot. You know my mom doesn't like you, she said. She's always in my ear. I held her gaze. Then why did you use her voice on that rooftop? I asked. Arielle swallowed. I didn't mean it like that, she said again. I shook my head slightly. Arielle, I said, the problem isn't that you said it. The problem is you felt safe saying it because you thought I'd stay. That landed. Her eyes filled. She looked around my shop, the cars, the tools, the people who respected me, and I saw something in her face shift. Maybe fear, maybe regret, maybe both. But regret without accountability is just another performance. Arielle left the shop and the messages from her circle started again, but they sounded different. Her sister Monique texted, You're being petty. Her mom called and left a voicemail about a man's duty. I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my attorney. That's the thing about moving smart. You don't argue with noise. You document. You build a quiet case. Weeks later, when the legal process began, Arielle's confidence cracked. Because in front of lawyers and paperwork, charm doesn't rewrite bank statements. And honesty doesn't excuse humiliation. Arielle wanted the story to be emotional. The court process made it factual. The day Arielle's studio officially closed, she posted nothing. No inspirational quote. No new chapter caption. Just silence. Her friends stopped coming around because there was no longer a stage. I heard through someone that Kiana said, he really left her. Like it was a surprise a man would choose self-respect. Arielle tried to meet me one last time to talk like adults. We met at a quiet coffee shop in D.C. She came in looking smaller than I remembered. Still beautiful, still polished, but the arrogance was gone. She sat across from me and said, Do you hate me? I shook my head. No, I said. I just don't trust you with me anymore. Arielle stared at her hands, then whispered, I didn't think you'd actually leave. I nodded once. I know, I said. She looked up, eyes wet. You were always so calm, she said. I thought you didn't feel anything. I held her gaze. Calm isn't numb, I replied. Calm is controlled. Arielle's face tightened. So I lose everything because I said something stupid? She asked. I leaned forward slightly. You didn't lose everything, I said. You lost access to me. She flinched. Same thing, she whispered. I sat back. That's the problem, I said. You made me a resource instead of a husband. She tried one last stab like a reflex. You think you're better than me because you fix cars, she said quietly, bitterness creeping back in. I didn't react. I simply said no. I think I'm better than the version of me that stayed while you trained your mouth to hate me. Arielle closed her eyes like it hurt. Then she said, I was trying to push you. I nodded slowly. Pushing isn't humiliating, I replied. Love doesn't need an audience to be respectful. She wiped her cheek and whispered, So what now? I answered, Now we finish this clean. She looked away, and for the first time, she didn't have a comeback. The divorce wasn't a victory lap. It was a quiet reset. We divided what was fair. I didn't go after her personal business assets out of spite. I didn't try to ruin her name. I simply walked away from the part of my life where I had to prove I deserved kindness. Arielle moved back near her mother for a while. Her circle faded. People who love your shine don't stick around for your accountability. My life got smaller in a good way. Less noise, fewer performances. I went back to laughing at dumb jokes with my guys at the shop. I started eating dinner in peace. I slept through the night. A few months later, I ran into Devin at a gas station in PG County. He looked uncomfortable. He nodded at me like he didn't know what to say. I nodded back. He cleared his throat and said, "Man, I didn't think it was like that." I didn't ask what he meant. I just said, "It was exactly like that." Devin looked down. "Arielle is saying you were controlling," he muttered. I smiled slightly. "People call boundaries control when they benefit from you having none," I said. Devin didn't respond. He just nodded slowly like the truth had weight. Then he got his car and drove off. I stood there for a second and realized how little their opinions mattered now. The funny part is after the marriage ended, my shop grew. Not because I got revenge, because I had focus. I bought better equipment. I hired another tech. I landed another fleet contract. I started training a younger guy who reminded me of myself, quiet, hungry, proud of honest work. One afternoon he asked me, "Do you ever think about getting married again?" I looked at him and said, "Maybe, but next time, respect is the foundation, not the decoration." He nodded like he understood, and I realized I wasn't bitter. I was better. There's a difference. Bitter wants someone to pay. Better just wants peace. The last time Arielle reached out, it wasn't a fight. It was a simple message. "I'm sorry for how I talked to you." No excuses. No but. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "I hope you mean it. Take care." She wrote back, "You too." That was it. No love declaration. No dramatic goodbye. Just closure, quiet and real. And the truth is, I didn't strip her of everything. I just stopped handing her pieces of me she never learned how to hold. Here's what I wish someone told me earlier. When someone keeps disrespecting you, the biggest danger isn't the insult itself. It's what you slowly start accepting as normal. The relationship trains you to tolerate things you'd never tolerate from a stranger. Being mocked, doubted, talked down to, and then being told you're too sensitive for reacting. Over time, you stop bringing things up, stop asking for basic care, and you start shrinking just to keep peace. That's where you lose yourself. So the moral isn't leave dramatically or get revenge. It's pay attention to patterns early, because patterns don't magically become accidents. A person who refuses to apologize needs an audience to feel powerful, and threatens to replace you isn't having a bad day. They're showing you how they handle power in the relationship. And if you keep absorbing it, you end up paying for your own disrespect with your money, your energy, and your confidence. In real life, the win looks boring. You stop arguing with someone who benefits from chaos. You stop funding behavior that hurts you. You document what you need to document, and you choose peace over proving a point. If they only value you when you're useful, the moment you set boundaries will reveal the truth, because they'll call it control, not self-respect. A simple way to remember it: love that requires you to accept humiliation isn't love. It's a contract where you're the resource. If this story hits you, subscribe, because on this channel we don't do loud revenge. We do quiet boundaries that change everything. And I need you to comment. Was leaving the ring on the table self-respect or too far? Then watch the next story, because the next one starts with a public insult too and ends with a move nobody saw coming.